Hey team, welcome to your Primal HIT 7 dumbbell tutorial. There are 9 movements in this complex. I'm only going to focus on 4 or 5 movement principles, and they are going to be leg drive, hip recruitment, spinal awareness, core conformation or core engagement, and shoulder pack. So let's get right into it. I'm going to demonstrate the movements first, and then we'll break down each of them. There are 9, so I'm going to give you the concise cues that you need. So the whole pattern looks something like this. It starts off with a sprawl. You can add a push-up, come back, hike into Deadlift press, right into Renegade row, right into alternating lunges, loading the lead leg, back and forth, right side, left side, into alternating snatch with one in the rack, one in the hang, dip, drive, switch, dip, drive, back into a goblet squat, holding the dumbbells as if you were a shield, driving up, into Romanian deadlift, hinging at the hips, soft bend in the knees, track the shins and the tops of the thighs, into overhead sit-ups, so you're gonna drop to the floor, grab one weight, lay flat, knees bent, arms straight, roll up, to the top, back down, into a push-up, which you can do body weight, or you can use the dumbbells to get a little bit of a greater range of motion, chest to floor, and then dome the upper body, last but not least, into an Arnold Press. So close elbows together, dumbbells together, open back up, and then press up, either neutral, or you can also do it rotating, traditional military press style. So let's break down the first movement, the devil's press. First thing you want to do is make sure that the weights are close together. Your feet are going to be wide because you're going to jump back into a strong, tight plank. Legs engaged, hips underneath you, spine long, crown to coccyx alignment, and core tight, making sure that your grip is neutral. So it looks like this, you jump back, everything is tight. Option to drop down into a push-up. Notice that I'm going to send my chest towards the top of the dumbbells, and then all the way back up. Jumping back into a wide-legged deadlift position. Now here is where you want to hike it through to create momentum. Once you do that, you're going to send the bell up and press, coming back through. So the key on this one for the movement, to start it off, there is this bit of a hike back. This will create a sling-like effect where the body can basically shoot it to the top. Very much like a kettlebell swing, you're going to want to use your hips. My hips will push into my forearm. By the time it gets here, I'm just bending my elbow as if I'm doing a soft bicep curl. It's already on the way up. Then I just punch it to the top. I'll demonstrate with one dumbbell so you can see what I'm talking about. So hiking back, notice that my hip hits the forearm. Once the hip hits the forearm, I'll bend my elbow. That's already going to send it on a different direction. The dumbbell now just has to press up. And I basically punch it up. The entire time my grip stays neutral. So together, it looks like this. You'll jump back, legs tight, core tight, and you're going to drop into a push-up. Notice the shoulders, tops of the dumbbell, the elbows to ceiling. Drive back up, dome the upper body. Create momentum here. Hip hits forearm. Bend elbow, bell's already on the way up. When you get to the top, fixate active shoulders. So I'm letting my shoulders push out of the socket as if I'm trying to punch the ceiling. Re-rack it, hinge, and you're back to the bottom of that position. When you re-rack it, one other key thing is when you come down, notice I come down hinging. So I'll hinge to put it down. The next movement is your plank row. Not a renegade row because technically you would have a push-up. So your plank row, again, focusing on leg drive, hips, spinal awareness, core engagement, and the conformation of your grip. When I go into the plank, it's going to be extra tight, extra tension. So shoulders are going to be packed into my back. Legs are active and locked, and by locked I mean engaged, so I'm not locking the knee, but I'm squeezing my quad, pulling them out apart with my feet, core is extra tight, spine is long. Then you want to row all the way elbow to ceiling. Go for your maximum extension. Modification on this one, you can always drop to the knee and row. But notice the angle. The hand is going towards the hip, so it's tracking at this angle from here to here, not the ribs. Common mistake, well, sometimes people row to their chest or they'll row to the ribs. I want you to go all the way to the hip. So if you imagine, it's almost like a slight J shape. Core is tight. In kneeling position, make sure your hips are forward. Butt is tight, core is tight, spine is long. My confirmation of the grip, I'm crushing the handle, and that is your plank row. Right into your alternating lunges. You're going to start this one standing, so feet can be hip width, shoulders are packed, chin is level, chest is up, core is tight. One strong straight line. For this particular lunge, you're going to load the lead leg a bit more. You're going to do this by leaning forward slightly. So I'm really focusing on putting a lot of tension in my lead leg, so I load the glute. Knee is about 90-90, back heel in line with the back knee, and then you're going to drive straight up, think head to ceiling. Drive your leg, use your hips. Stepping back, when you step back, you're going to notice I'm keeping the torso, your torso, over the lead leg. Think center of the foot, 90-90, knee in line with the hip. When you stand up, drive your leg, use your hip. Another simple cue or way to think about this is that when you're in this position, when I'm in my bottom phase, I'm going to think head to ceiling, active plank. When I go to move, my butt and my ribs are going to move at the same time. So that is your alternating row. Do not forget about your posture when you're doing lower body work. That sometimes happens when you're so focused on doing the right alignment with your knees and your hips. Going right into alternating snatch. This one is going to be from the rack position. So one will be in the rack as if you're holding a shield. Bottom, our other arm is going to be in the hang. You're going to dip, jump, and then drive to the top. So I'll dip, my hips will go back a little bit. As I jump, your heels can leave the earth, get underneath it, and then stand up. The other one comes back to the rack as if you're catching a ball, so it goes into the body. Bell, dumbbell in the hang. Dip, this is where you're going to get the load from the power to treat your body like a sling. So I can just throw it up, leading with the elbow, and then I just get underneath it. Back through. So when you're doing the dumbbell snatch, simple cueing, you dip. My drive is my legs. I'm looking for a full extension of my knee, hip, and ankle. To keep it simple, just think you're going to jump to the top. This will make it feel way more natural. So if I dip, I'm just going to jump to the top. Imagine a wall in front of you, and on the side of you, naturally leading with the elbow, and it goes to the top. When the bell gets to about here, I'm just going to kind of dip underneath it again. So if you notice, I'll dip, drive, and then I'll kind of just get underneath it. This is especially key if you have a heavy dumbbell. If you don't have a heavy dumbbell, you can actually do this without even lifting the heels. But if you want to practice that athletic type movement, then I suggest doing the lifting of the heel as if you're going to jump, fully extending hips, knees, and ankles. Then you're going to go into a goblet squat in the shield position. So the dumbbells are going to be in front as if you're holding a shield. Again, shoulders are packed into the back so your lats flare, core is engaged, pulling the mat apart with your feet, legs are engaged. Drive your hips back, elbows can touch thigh, knee pushes towards pinky, chin is level, butt ribs, leg drive, hip recruitment, aware of the spine one more time, so you'll drive. I'm actively pushing out with my feet, creating tension, squeezing the glutes, driving straight up, locking everything in at the top. And again, by lock, that's synonymous with thinking of engagement of your muscle, not just locking into the joint. Then you're going to go right into Romanian deadlift. Feet hip width, shoulders packed, chin level, arms long, hinge. You're going to think of pushing the tops of your hamstrings to the back of the wall. Notice the fingers, the backs of the fingers are scraping my thighs and my shin. Arms are long. Chest is higher than the hips. And then you're going to drive straight up. You can keep it a bit more stiff-legged I won't go as low, but if you want to go a little bit lower, think of sitting your hips back, but I'm hinging, arms are long, driving straight up. When I get to the top, legs tight, butt tight, core tight, chin level. Finally, nearing the end of this, we're going to drop to the floor, going in for your overhead sit-up. So on this one, one thing to focus on, a couple things to focus on, but one main thing to focus on with the shoulders, because you are going to be in an overhead position, is that anytime my hand, this is a rule of thumb, a heuristic you can use, anytime your hand is below or in line with the shoulder, you can think of packing the shoulder into the lats. Right? This will activate your lats, helps activate the core. Anytime that you are pressing overhead, I think of using active shoulder. So I'm looking for that elevated shoulder so that there's no impingement in the joint. Right? You're very strong from here. If you look at people who do handstands, gymnastics, they're in this position. It's a hollow body position, very strong, very structurally sound. So when you grab the bell, you're going to grab it with two hands. Grip confirmation, I'm just gripping it like I would a grapefruit, because that's how we work out. So with grapefruits, hands are going to come overhead. In line with the chest, my body is getting underneath the bell. And then when I get to the top, I'm letting my shoulders go into that elevated active shoulder position. On the way down, squeeze. Still using my leg drive, right, but in a different sense because I'm pulling my heels towards me. My hips are anchored and heavy, so I'm visualizing that my hips are super heavy, super anchored, coming up to the top. Shoulders elevate, spine nice and long, articulating through the spine, one vertebrae at a time on the way down. So that is your overhead sit-up. When you're coming into the last two drills, this body weight one is a push-up, but you can do it with the dumbbells to get a better range of motion. You'll get a better stretch. Now, on the push-up, I'm going to do it without the dumbbells first so you can see. I want you to notice that it's as if I'm pulling myself up a wall. My shoulder is going to travel not at this angle, it's not going towards my hand, it's actually going this way. So if you imagine a line from here to here, that's where my shoulders are traveling to. So if you notice, you see how they're traveling that way, my chest can get to the floor, and then I'll drive straight back. Legs tight and engaged, hips underneath you, spine is long, dome the upper back. Press into your thumb, middle, and pinky finger. Split the floor apart with your feet. Shoulder tracks at that angle. So notice it's like, watch where the chest goes. Even if I do it on the knee, same thing. As opposed to thinking the shoulder is somehow meant to do this. Right? So you see how that puts it? Puts the shoulder at a strange angle. It doesn't feel as smooth, and it's not as easy to focus on the other body parts. When you're doing it with a dumbbell, pretty much the same thing, except you're going to get a better stretch. Your grip is going to be neutral. Starting position, legs tight, hips underneath you, splitting the mat apart. Don't give her back. Draw the jaw back into the body. Same angle of the shoulders, and that's why I say as if you're going to the tops of the dumbbell. So you're here, elbows, 45-degree, core tight, legs tight, butt tight, push straight up. Dome the upper back. On the knees, same thing. Lower down. Dome the upper back. The same problem you're going to face with upper body drills is that you might have a tendency to forget about your lower body. You might have a tendency to relax your glutes, let your legs be soft. No, you want to create more tension than you think you need to. So in the push-up again, if you watch, I'll over-exaggerate. My legs are tight, I'm splitting the floor apart, tucking the hips, squeezing the butt, and then I'm engaging my lats. My lower body is on lockdown. And that way you'll get more bang for your buck. The last drill, this is the 9th drill in this complex, the Arnold Press. We'll do this first without any weight. So I just want you to bring your elbows wide, like this, right? So my shoulder, elbow in line, wrist in line with elbows. You're gonna close. Your palms are gonna face you naturally, right? Again, I like to think of the shield because I like to make believe, you know, I'm a warrior type of thing. So imagine you have a shield in front of you guarding your face. When you open up, you do so with control. When you press to the top, you can press neutral, but notice, I want you to hit that same elevated shoulder position. So you're not going to think of jamming your shoulder into your back the entire time. You only do that on the return when you are coming back to the starting position. Another way to do this would be I close when I open, more like a military press, so I have that natural shoulder rotation where my palms are going to be facing forward, you know, as if you're going to go swimming or diving into a pool. So, let's do it. And remember the golden rule of if you're doing your upper body, do not forget about your lower body. So if I'm here, we'll start with the elbows wide. You're going to close. I'm bringing my hips underneath me, squeezing my core, splitting them out apart with my feet, and then I'm closing in. Palms will face, holding the shield, open up. We'll do the first one, neutral position, elevate. Come back through, absorb the energy, close, and we can do one where we rotate. This one's a bit more challenging. So, pick which one you would like to do, and that is your dumbbell complex. Focusing on 4 to 5 principles. We chatted about your leg drive, and this can be when you are, for example, bottom of a squat, you're driving up, but it can also be when you're in a static position, such as holding the plank. We talked about using your hips, making sure that you're driving through your hips powerfully. Think athletic, think speed, think primal. We talked about your shoulders being packed into your back, keeps your spine nice and stable, will make it easier for you to be aware of your spine. When the hands come above the shoulder line, use that active shoulder position because it's very structurally sound. All right, so for this class, you can do this by itself. If you just want to do it for time, I would say just do 10 reps of each, straight down the line. In the class, we do a bit of a chipper, you build up, but there you have it. If you have any questions, please send us a message.